Greetings, I'm Marten Rabarts, Director of New Zealand International Film Festival, Whānau Mārama. Today we're talking with Lala Rolls. Lala, come on in. Kia ora, Lala. Lala is the director of Tupaia's Endeavour, and we're calling this the director's cut because it's a project she's been working on for many, many years, and a passion project, something that right up until this final cut, I think it is, she won't let go, kept discovering more and more about this astonishing character. I loved seeing the film Lala because I learnt more about, obviously I learnt a great deal about Tupaia, who I'd only heard of as a passing, historical side character. And you put him front and center in your film, and I think, a place he clearly deserves. Let's go back to the beginning. It's almost like my standard beginning question. What was the birth of this idea for you? What, when you woke up one morning and went like, now I've really got to spend the next 3-4 years of my life really focused on this historical character who deserves to be revisited and repositioned in history. What was the birth of the idea?
Well, had I known it was going to be this many years, I may have gone straight back to bed. But I read Anne Salmon's book, Trial of the Cannibal Dog, and I kept seeing this name Tupaia slipping between the lines. And it was a book exploring Cook's 3 voyages in the Pacific. I stopped reading after the first voyage because Tupaia died. But basically I kept seeing this character and realizing that he was so barely mentioned in the journals and had played a huge role, which Anne, of course, brilliant Anne, had realized and was bringing out gently in her book. And so the next day I bumped into my mate Michael Tuffrey in the street, and I knew he was doing contact art and exploring contact from a Pacific perspective. And I said, Tuffs, I've just read this book and there's this guy Tupaia. And he was like, oh my God, I just read that book. And Tuffs never reads a book because he's dyslexic, but he read the whole book in one sitting. And we both were, it just makes sense. And so then I said, well, we got to make a film. And he was like, no, okay. No, he was actually enthusiastic because we had talked some years ago about looking at doing a film together about his work. And so yeah. And then I just started looking for funding and just kept going till I did it.
What did you think you would find? Did you have from Anne Salmon's great book? Was that sort of driving your exploration, your own exploration, or did you have other ideas that you thought, I wonder this, I wonder that you might discover?
Well, actually, Marten, the problem and also the wonderful thing about our film is that I was approaching it because there's something I really wanted to say about the Pacific and about first contact. So Tupaia was more a symbol. Like Tufts and I both realized Tupaia could be a really good symbol, that we could hang our ideas that we wanted to share with people on. And those ideas were about people were already here with rich, complex societies. And also to show Polynesia evolved, but also the Pacific evolved and the Pacific as it is today, including Māori and connecting Aotearoa with the Pacific, which is where it sits, not with England.
I mean, just for people who may not know you, what's your own connection to the Pacific? Tell us a little bit about why the Pacific matters so much to you.
Yeah, I'm pretty whitey McWhite white. I was born in Fiji and brought up there till I left there when I was about 17, just about 18. And my name is Fijian. And in my childhood, we had a big household, 7 kids, and we had a house girl, is the word in Fiji. But Emily, our house girl, was like another member of the family and like my second mother. So I had a childhood standing in 2 worlds, and I would be in the village with Emmy on the weekends, and then in this big Dutch mother, Australian father, scrambling household of 6 girls and 1 boy. So it was chaos, but also I was always observing the 2 different worlds, and you know, Pākehā people would come, New Zealanders would come and would go, God, they're so white, and gosh, they get lots of big mosquito bites, and I felt very Fijian. We've thought of ourselves as Fijian, so yeah, but yeah.
Well, yeah, it makes perfect sense that you know the Pacific is sort of what keeps washing you in these different directions. As you both really, you and Michael, put together the film, what was did you arrive at a structure? You also create, because there's a personal journey and then there's a reenactment aspect, and you engaged a really wonderful actor to go on this journey with you. When did those like structural storytelling elements begin to coalesce, and when did you find those?
Sure. So, well, we always knew we weren't going to get the kind of funding to really show the olden days, 1769 when Cook arrived in the Pacific. So, so we always thought that Michael would paint the pictures of the wide shots, and then I thought we'd do elemental sort of close-up stuff with real people, and we'd sort of posit them in sort of stylized frameworks, which is what we did with Kirk. Also, I always wanted a theme of swimming underwater, because I was thinking of a way to visually give a motif for Tupaia's freedom in his own mind, and just something to get us visually, dig into. And Kirk's a good mate of mine, great swimmer, Commonwealth rep. So, and I've swum with him and his family a lot at the sea, and he's like a little dolphin, and it's like, well, I've got to get Dolphin Boy, But also Kirk is Ngāti Kahungunu, and they have a strong connection with Tahiti and with Tupaia, with the Tupaia story of their own. And that was the other thing we wanted in this film, to live the experience, and I knew Kirk had the capacity to live that experience with me and Tafre.
I mean, the journeys to Tahiti, how many did you make, by the way? It's more than one trip there, it feels like.
We shot there twice. And I went over one time before to pitch it and find a producer, co-producer, and set it all up. So 3 times for me.
The point of inquiry, the point of inquiry that you engage with the characters in Tahiti, there's an unearthing of their history as well, which it tells us as an audience, a lot about what has happened in the Pacific since European powers took it over. Did you have an idea of what you'd be unearthing when you went to Tahiti?
Anne Salmon had hinted, and she said there'll be politics, and you'll be surprised at things, and people might not want to tell you things, because of course we'd started talking with her the minute we thought we'd make a film, to make sure she was on board, thank God. But because I grew up in Fiji, I'm very used to things unfolding, and I kind of wanted the film to reflect a real Pacific journey and let things unfold in the film, which is why it's a little bit, it dives in and out of different things. But I was amazed at how disenfranchised the Tahitian culture seemed to have become through the process of colonization, and the kind of pain, like Taha, the Tahua, who she heard we were making a film. She bumped into our co-producer, who was a crazy chain-smoking French fella. And she said she was a historian, and he told her about our film, and she said, I need to come to the airport to meet the filmmaker with you. And he was like, oh, okay, come along. And she met me, and she just held me and looked at me, and she felt me, and she said, I need to work with you. And then she said, my grandmother had blue eyes, and she trained me as a tahua, and you have the same eyes, and I can feel your spirit, and I'm in the film, I'll help you with the film.
Wow.
And, so stuff like that happened all the time. Turns out we met and talked what she would do in the film. At first, she didn't want to appear because she thought, as a history teacher in a high school in Tahiti, if she revealed that she had tahua knowledge, she'd be sacked.
Wow.
It's still that bad. So she had kept this a secret all her working life, except with her close family, but she revealed it in our film, and quite a few people did stuff like that, just said, oh no, it's a secret, we can't talk, and then you put a camera in front of people and they're like, oh, blah, 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 I think you create that sacred space where you're prepared.
Yes, I think it's who puts the camera and the way it's placed that is why you are having these reactions. And Michael's own journey in the story is really, really compelling. How much did he know? How much was just a curiosity?
I think around the time he read Anne's book, which is why he clicked so much with Tupaia, he had just discovered that his birth father was not the father who brought him up. And so he talks in the film about that, about always feeling like the odd one out. So his actual father had Tahitian and Rarotongan heritage, and the Tahitian heritage came from a mother straight from Tupaia's marae. So actually the same marae as Tupaia on Taputapuatea. So for him, it had exploded his world realizing this, and he had been on this journey of refinding himself. So part of it for him was wanting to come on the journey with us and continue that. So yeah, awesome.
The film constantly throws up surprises, not just for you who are making it or Michael, but also for the audience. One of the places you take us is back to the UK, and laying at least a spiritual claim to the taonga that are captured there in various institutions and museums. Why was it so important to include that journey? Because Tupaia, he never made it to London. He passed away in Batavia.
Yeah, you're so onto it. But it was important for us because if taonga and things that he had touched had gone back to London, as did the story of the voyage went back to London, and then he wasn't in the picture. So it was a way to give back the mana of Tupaia to his objects. And it also was a way to see him a little bit. And weirdly, everything we did led to other things. So the fact that we did go and see the Heitiki in the British Museum meant that we started thinking about it a lot more. And then we started seeing with different eyes when we were doing our research. And then we realized that where the Heitiki came from and who had worn it, because we suddenly started looking at Sydney Parkinson's pictures. Then we connected stories. So there's so much not in the film. Like, I'm really hoping a kind of online discussion can start happening around our Facebook page where people can talk to each other or ask questions of us. But we discovered some real depths, and we couldn't fit everything in the film, but we believe anyway that the Heitiki may have belonged to the father or uncle of one of the boys that were kidnapped by Cook that Tupaia looked after, and we believe it was gifted to Tupaia as a thank you. And people we've spoken with, like T.Y. Reedy, who's one of our exec producers, said a taonga like that does not get given unless there's a child involved somehow. Usually. Wow. And so either it was about there being some seed spread, which we heard happened also, or it was about children in some way. So yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Well, you've moved characters who are placed on the periphery or on the put on side stage, and you've moved them center stage again. And it feels like it's a leaping off point. So I love the idea that you're opening up dialogue on your Facebook page. What is your Facebook page? Tell us how people can find it.
I'm so shit at Facebook, excuse me. It's at Tupaia Film. I think that's it, at Tupaia Film.
Okay.
Yeah, give it a try. Otherwise, Sue May will tell us. She'll find a way to tell us.
Okay. Look, I'm sure people will just look it up on Facebook. Tupaia, at Tupaia, Lala Rolls Tupaia. It'll all be searchable. Sure. Yeah. But wonderful for continuing what's a really important conversation in so many ways, and creating a new leaping off space for more conversations that will go on and on. Okay.
Thanks, Martin, so much for having us in the festival.
Thank you for bringing us your director's cut to us.
But also so wonderful for us, because we want New Zealanders first and foremost to start talking about this story because of what it means about all the other stories.
Absolutely. And uniquely, we're going across all of New Zealand this year with our online edition. So
good on you.
Okay. Thank you, Lala. Really, really lovely talking to you.
All right.
Okay.
Ka kite anō.